Out in the heart of the frontier, where the sky stretched forever and the land was as wild as the hearts of its people, there lay a dusty little town called Hollow Ridge. It was the kind of place where folks knew each other's business and reputations were carved out of sweat, grit, and the sharp bark of a revolver. The Turner family had lived in Hollow Ridge for 3 generations, back when the first settlers broke ground with nothing but mules and determination. Abigail Turner was proud of her family's legacy, even if the burden of it fell squarely on the shoulders of her brother Clayton.
Clayton has always been the strong one, the stubborn one. Since Pa passed, he's carried the Turner name like it was his cross to bear. He says he does it for me, for Ma, for all those who came before. But sometimes I wonder if he carries it for himself.
Clayton's sense of honor ran deep, but so did his temper. And when Jack Holden rode into town, something about the cattleman's easy smile and unshakable calm rubbed Clayton the wrong way. Jack Holden wasn't looking for trouble when he arrived in Hollow Ridge. He'd been driving cattle up from Amarillo and decided to stop for a drink, maybe a good meal before heading on. But then he saw Abigail standing on the porch of the Turner Mercantile, her hair catching the afternoon sun like spun gold.
Reckon this stuff just got a whole lot more interesting.
It started simple. Jack came around the store more often, tipping his hat and striking up conversations. Abigail found herself lingering in town longer than she intended, just to hear his stories of the open range. Abigail wasn't the only one to notice Jack's charm. Over time, he found himself sitting at the Turner dinner table, sharing stew and bread while regaling Ma Turner with tales of his travels. Even Clayton softened, though he kept his eyes sharp and his words sharper.
You have been all over, Jack. Why settle here in our little Hollow Ridge?
Place don't seem so little to me, ma'am. Not when it's got good folks like you. And good company like Miss Abigail.
Abigail blushed, but Clayton's jaw tightened. For all the camaraderie over supper, Clayton still saw Jack as an outsider, a drifter with no ties to the land, no stake in the town's future. It was a month later when things boiled over. Jack had been talking to Abigail outside the mercantile, his hat in hand, when Clayton rode up. The look on his face was like a storm rolling in.
What are you doing, Holden? Hanging around my little sister? Like some stray dog begging for her scraps?
Just talking, Clayton. Abigail don't seem to mind.
Stop it, both of you. This isn't your business, Clayton.
But Clayton didn't hear her. By the time the 3 of them made their way to the saloon, half the town was already watching. Inside the saloon, the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Jack stood his ground while Clayton paced like a caged lion. Abigail sat at a corner table, her hands wringing her apron.
You think you can just come into our town, into my family's life, and take what ain't yours?
I don't want nothing that ain't freely given, Clayton. I came here looking for peace, not a fight.
Then you came to the wrong town.
The room held its breath as Clayton's hand hovered near his revolver. Abigail stood, her voice sharp and clear.
Clayton Turner, if you draw that gun, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. This isn't about me. It's about your pride.
Clayton's face burned with shame, but he didn't back down.
This ain't over. Sundown, Holden. Out in the street. We settle this once and for all.
If that's what it takes to prove my intentions, I'll be there.
As the 2 men left the saloon, Abigail sank into her chair, tears brimming in her eyes.
Why does it always have to end like this? With blood spilled over things that could be mended with words.
The news of the duel spread like wildfire. Folks gathered in small knots, whispering about who might walk away and who might not. Hollow Ridge was no stranger to gunfights, but this one felt different.
Clayton's quick, but Jack's got that steady hand. Could go either way.
Ma Turner stayed home, sitting by the window with her Bible open. She had lost her husband to a senseless quarrel years before and prayed the same fate wouldn't befall her son. By sundown, the street was packed. Clayton stood on one end, his face hard as flint. Jack faced him from the other, calm but resolute. Abigail stood at the edge of the crowd, clutching her mother's locket as if it were the only thing keeping her upright.
Remember, gentlemen, no shots till the third toll.
At the third toll, the air exploded with motion. When the smoke cleared, Clayton was on one knee, his hand clutching his side. Jack stood with blood seeping from his shoulder, but his gun hand was steady.
Clayton, oh God.
I ain't dead, Abby. And I reckon he won fair. This time.
In the days that followed, Hollow Ridge returned to its quiet rhythm. Jack stayed, tending to his cattle and to Abigail's heart. Clayton, bruised but not broken, found himself reflecting on the weight of pride and the meaning of family. As Clayton recovered in their family home, Abigail found Jack leaning against the corral outside.
Are you leaving?
Figured I'd stay, if you'll have me. But only if your brother doesn't shoot me on sight.
She smiled, a tired, bittersweet smile, and took his hand. The sunset painted them in shades of forgiveness, hope, and a love that had survived the fire of pride.
Some legends are written in blood, others in the bonds we forge after the dust settles. Hollow Ridge has plenty of both. But this story, this one is mine.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through Sunset Honor, a tale of love, pride, and the unyielding spirit of the Old West. We hope you enjoyed the story and felt transported to the dusty streets of Hollow Ridge. This story was proudly brought to you by Broken Table Productions. If you'd like more stories like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an adventure. Be sure to follow us on our other social platforms for exclusive behind-the-scenes content, sneak peeks, and so much more. Your support helps us bring these stories to life, and we're excited to share even more with you. Until next time, keep exploring, keep imagining, and keep riding toward the sunset. See you soon.